I'm a dog and that's true, baby. Can we call this here a truce, baby?
Day 3. Let's get it. Let's get it. What's going on, YouTube? Mojokid213 back with another video. Today we got a top 5 fathers who got revenge on criminals. Now me, if I was a father, somebody did something to my family, one of my kids, it's over with. That person gonna have to die. That person gonna have to die. It's over with. There's nothing you can do. That person has to die. But like I said, today we watching top 5 fathers who got revenge on criminals. So I'm done talking. Let's get straight into the video, man.
Welcome to List Addiction, your weekly fix for lists. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe down below. If you really enjoyed it, please share it on your social medias. Today we'll be looking at 5 fathers who took sweet revenge on men who did horrible things to their kids. These fathers' very understandable rage just boiled over, and they took justice into their own hands. There's a strong debate about what should be done in these cases every time it happens. But it will be hard to find a jury that would convict these people. Since we have all thought about taking revenge about really small things, I can only imagine the emotions that you have to be feeling if something this horrible happens to you. Let's get started. In 2012 in Texas, an unnamed 23-year-old father heard his 5-year-old daughter crying behind a barn, so he went to investigate and found Jesus Mora Flores sexually assaulting his daughter.
Wow.
He pulled him off her and started beating him senseless. He pummeled him so hard that the man ended up dying, but not before the father called 911 trying to get some help to save the man's life.
911, state emergency. I hear the ambulance. Okay. I hear the ambulance. The guy was raping my daughter and I beat him up and I don't know. I don't know what to do.
In the 911 tapes, he is heard screaming that the man is going to die, but they lived in such a rural area that the dispatcher had trouble finding his address. By the time emergency crews arrived, Flores was dead, and the case was investigated as a homicide. But in the end, no charges were brought up after a grand jury decided not to indict the father, which is the obvious conclusion in this case.
Force is authorized and justified in order to stop an aggravated sexual assault or a sexual assault. All the evidence that was presented by the Sheriff's Department and by the Texas Rangers indicated that that was in fact what was occurring when the victim's father arrived at the scene.
Raymond Earl Brooks had adopted a woman who had a young daughter, and he started molesting this girl, and it lasted from ages 4 to 8.
Wow.
It happened for so long that it became her normal. Brooks pleaded guilty in 2002 to molesting the girl, who was 21 years old when he was finally put in jail. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, which is already too short.
5 years?
27 months before being granted an early release. After his release, the daughter said something to her dad, Jay Maynard, which she can't remember since it seemed so insignificant at the time. But the dad got so angry that he
only
grabbed
served
his gun
5
and
years.
Brooks' home. He found him outside his home and shot him dead. After he killed the 59-year-old Brooks, he was arrested. He pled guilty to first-degree murder
that nigga, bro.
and was sentenced to 40 years in prison.
Smoked his ass.
I completely
bro.
understand his reaction, but during this revenge scenario, he also stopped at another shop where he shot at a man who he thought had also abused his stepdaughter when they were dating. And that pretty much ended his chances of any jury understanding his vengeful actions. He got another 20 years for this attempted murder.
Step-grandfather, related to the child, it wasn't blood, but when you're a grandfather, you're in that position where you're a trusted family member who had access to a child. She was 8 years. Wait, hold on. She was 8 years old when she came out and said it. Right. She said she doesn't remember when she started being molested, so she was probably an infant. And you know what? The original charge against that man was sodomy, and they took it off as a plea deal. You know what sodomy is? You're doing that to an infant, you will be dead. You do that to my child, I will shoot you in the head.
Shit, she not playing
Father
games.
Jason Browning admitted to beating the shit out of babysitter Raymond Frolander in 2014 after the father walked in on Raymond performing a sexual act on his 11-year-old son. The father did the understandable, and upon coming upon the scene, he snapped and started beating the babysitter until he was unconscious. He was also planning on stabbing him to death, but his son stepped in and stopped him. 18-year-old Raymond admitted to having molested the
That's
son
what
for
fuck
3 years.
What was he
Raymond
doing?
was actually a good friend of the family and would hang out with the son consistently, where they would play video games in the kid's room with the door shut. The father's rage is even more understandable since he himself was abused as a child while in foster care. The babysitter was taken to the hospital before being sent to jail, and the father will not face any charges, since the police stated that the dad was acting like a dad, and there is nothing to charge him for.
Beaten and bruised, Raymond Frolander stood before a judge and didn't say a word during his first appearance in court. Daytona Beach police arrested Frolander for sexually assaulting an 11-year-old boy.
He fucked that nigga. He fucked him up, bro. Yeah, that's exactly how I be, boy. Exactly. Bro, if you get in trouble for that shit, bro, that's, what can you do? You can't defend your child, though. If you was to get in trouble for something like that, that's so stupid.
Caleb, who was 11 years old, to get out the truck and help.
He definitely handled that situation right.
As they were doing this, a 20-year-old drunk driver named Jose Banda crashed into them, killing the 2 boys. During the turmoil after the accident, gunshots rang out and Banda was left dead with a gunshot to the head. Now this is where it gets tricky, as it cannot be called an outright revenge, since prosecutors charged the father for the murder, but he was later acquitted after the jury spent only 3 hours deliberating. I'm not saying that the father killed Banda, but it would make sense since he was shot right after he killed his 2 kids. Prosecutor said that he walked 100 yards to his home and got the gun and walked back to the wreckage and killed Banda. Although the evidence for all this was extremely weak, since no witnesses claimed to have seen him do it, and he had no handgun residue on his hands, and the bullet fragments could have belonged to multiple weapons and not just the .357 gun ammunition that Barajas had in his house. Also, the gun was never found. I would completely understand if he did do it, though.
It all came down to evidence, and in the end, the prosecution did not.
The gun was never found.
The jury
dude got shot in the head. They couldn't match the cases or anything to the fragments of the bullets or anything, any gun. So that nigga, bro, his ass
in 1984, Father Leon Gary Boucher shot and killed his son's kidnapper and sexual abuser while they were walking him through the airport back to jail in Baton Rouge. 25-year-old Jeff Doucette was a karate instructor who had kidnapped Leon's son and had taken him to California. Doucette had actually been molesting Jody for about a year before he kidnapped him. Leon, the father, struggled with the reports that his son had been sexually abused, so he decided to do something about it. News crews were in the
y'all niggas be virgins.
Leon pretended to be talking on the phone, and as police passed,
first of all, why are you messing with a little boy? First of all, go talk to some females.
Very close shave. Shoots and kills him.
Officers immediately recognized him and asked him why he did it, and he just responded, "If this had happened to you, you would have done the same thing."
He
died the next day in the hospital. Leon was given a 7-year suspended sentence after he agreed to a plea deal, pleading no contest to a manslaughter, with 5 years probation and 3
nothing wrong with my
community service.
I ain't shit.
What do you think about Boucher only got probation for killing his son's abusers? Although
I think it's perfectly. He shouldn't have got probation.
I personally would not convict the father of anything.
No.
Thanks for watching.
None at all. None at all. None at all. I wouldn't have convicted father. None at all. He ain't do that at all. He stood up for his child. Took out dude that messed with his child. What else needs to be said? Dude gone, father and the family move on. I'm doing the same thing for my family and mine. Simple. Anybody touch my kids? 2-piece combo. My God, 2-piece combo. Don't forget to drink. That's all I'm saying though. But top 5 fathers who got revenge on criminals. That was actually more interesting than I thought. That was a good video. But Psn Mojokid, I appreciate y'all for watching. I might be dropping 2 videos today, so stay tuned. Keep the love coming. Subscribe, share the video, like it, comment, give me videos to react to. Share the video. You know, you already know. Share the video with your mom, your dad, your grandma, your granddad, your cousin, your sister, your brother, your toilet, your shoes, your TV, everything, bro. Just share the video, bro. Go crazy. Share the video, bro. Subscribe. And it's been Mojo Kid, and I'm gone, bro.